Everybody set, guys? Guys, good afternoon and thanks for coming out today. Today's press conference is in regards to the sexual assault that took place on West 104 and Lake. Today you'll be addressed, a number of the panelists we have here is Cleveland Division of Police Chief Calvin D. Williams, from the Cuyahoga County Prosecutor's Office, Prosecutor Tim McGinty, Deputy Chief of Homeland Special Operations, Deputy Chief Edward Tamba, Deputy Chief of Field Operations, Chief Dornat Drummond. From the U.S. Marshals, we have Marshal Pete Elliott. Cleveland City Councilman Matt Zone is here today. From the Cuyahoga County Prosecutor's Office, Chief of Special Investigative Division, Assistant Prosecutor Rick Bell, and a number of other individuals from the Prosecutor's Office are here as well. At this time, I'd like to turn the podium over to Chief Calvin Williams.
Thanks, Sarge. Good afternoon. On September 2nd of this year, a brutal attack took place against a female on the west side of Cleveland. The Division of Police immediately began an investigation, assisted by the County Prosecutor's Office, County Sheriff's Office, and others, especially the Cuyahoga County Regional Lab. We were able to identify a suspect in this case, which culminated today in the arrest of that suspect by the U.S. Marshals Violent Fugitive Task Force. I'd like to thank our partners for their assistance in this investigation. They're all pictured here today. I'd also like to thank the public for all the tips that they phoned in. I'd also like to make sure that everybody understands that this is never done in a vacuum. Things like this that happen in our city, unfortunately, that happen, we think, all too often. But it's never done in a vacuum. There's always assistance rendered. There's always assistance needed. And we have partnerships that make things happen that, again, today culminated in the arrest of a person that shouldn't be on our streets. I'm going to bring up Deputy Chief Edward Tamba from our Homeland Special Operations section to really kind of give you a timeline on the investigation and how things unfolded. Thanks.
Thanks, Chief. As the Chief said, on September 2nd, members of the Division of Police responded to a call for a female being sexually assaulted at West 104th and Lake Avenue. We immediately responded. Our sex crimes detectives were dispatched to the hospital to speak with our survivor. Information was provided to the detectives. The detectives then left and immediately canvassed the crime scene area and went back to the crime scene for any type of potential evidence. A neighborhood canvass was conducted during the first 24 hours, and the evidence that we received from the hospital was collected and immediately taken to our regional forensic lab for testing. We engaged the Rape Crisis Center immediately, and who behind the scenes focused on the most important person in this whole incident, and that is the young lady that was attacked, our survivor. As a lot of you know, we do have a member of the Cleveland Rape Crisis Center in our Sex Crimes and Child Abuse Unit. Some video evidence was obtained, and due to the quality of that evidence, we were required to get it tested, to get it enhanced. Once that video was enhanced, we released it to the media, and the City of Lakewood contacted the Division of Police, and they advised us that they had a similar incident that occurred in their city. This was Tuesday afternoon. The detectives from Cleveland and Lakewood met in the Sex Crimes Unit, and they exchanged notes, and they came to the conclusion that this was possibly the same perpetrator that perpetrated this crime in Cleveland. Our detectives, along with other investigators, continued to canvass the area. They walked the route. They looked for video evidence, which the community was engaged, the Edgewater community, and our councilperson, Zone, was very much engaged from the very, very beginning. There were numerous organizations and numerous law enforcement officers that were part of this. Our investigators with the prosecutor's office, Lakewood PD, the sheriff's office, the Rape Crisis Center, as I mentioned before, and the Northern Ohio Violent Fugitive Task Force. Evidence was submitted, and early this morning we received a phone call from our forensic science lab that they had a DNA hit on our suspect, James Daniel III. An arrest warrant was secured immediately, and the Violent Fugitive Task Force was engaged, and they started looking for the suspect. About 11:30 this morning at 1309 West 87th Street, suspect James Daniel III was arrested without incident. The search warrant of that house was secured, and as we speak, detectives and investigators are going through that house in an effort to secure more evidence. So I'd like to acknowledge some members of the Division of Police and other members of the division that supported us during this. Lieutenant James McPike, he's the officer in charge of our Sex Crimes and Child Abuse Unit. Detectives Michael Montezuma and Andy Harasmachuk. Sergeant Keith Haven of our Violent Fugitive Task Force, which is attached to the United States Marshal Service. Our crime analyst, Todd Wiles, who was invaluable with his expertise. Jill Castor. Jill is our advocate from the Rape Crisis Center, and her professionalism and compassion with the survivor is an invaluable resource to us and an invaluable resource to the young lady that was attacked. So at this time, if anyone has any questions that I can address or anybody up here can address, we'll be glad to take a few questions.
What led you to the house on West 87th? How did you know he would be there? Had you checked any other properties?
That was, there was a, what we call it was a workup. There was a workup done by the United States Marshals Task Force for any and all addresses that he had listed and any associates. So that was the third address that they checked. So it was just done by, good research by the analysts with the Marshal Task Force.
Is that in fact his brother's house?
Yes. Yeah.
Are you still waiting for DNA on the Lakewood case, and do you still believe that Daniel III is connected to the Warren rape?
Well, as of right now, we do. There is still more testing going on, but that's something that our detectives are going to have to try to figure out when they conduct an interview with them, and we'll see what we get out of that house after it's processed. We'll see what type of evidence we get.
It appears they arrested his brother at the scene, or at least handcuffed his brother at the scene. Was he taken into custody? Was he wanted for anything?
He was taken into custody by the sheriff's office, and he will be. We're going to talk to him also. So, but right now, right now, the only suspect is James Daniel right now. Does anyone have anything for anybody else up here?
So
Or
at this point, you're not willing, or Mr. McGinty, you're not willing to connect the two. How much more work do you have to do to be able to put the Lakewood mines at ease? You've put up mines at ease on Lake. What can you do for Lakewood?
Chief Malley of Lakewood is working on it very vigorously right now to see if there is a connection. It's possible. We haven't reached any conclusion, nor is Chief Malley, if it's the same person or not. We'll wait for the medical examiner, Dr. Gilson's results. He's rushing the results. He rushed the results here in this case at the police request. He's working at it now. There is a possibility, and that's all I can say.
Previously, you called him the early morning rapist. What are the connections? Why? What were you seeing that the two?
Both incidents took place early in the morning. We like to give, if it's a serial rapist, we like to give a name to it, separated from others. Both these incidents took place early in the morning. His brother was involved in rapes that took place early in the morning. The suspect in them are arrested for him. There were a number of early morning incidents with this fellow, so we gave it the title, and we'll see if he lives up to it. We don't know if he's a serial rapist yet or not. We'll wait to see.
His brother had previous arrests for rapes, if I heard you right?
Yes. His brother was involved in other crimes. Both of them have had criminal histories.
And his
In
brother
prison.
was arrested shortly after he was today.
Yes, half-brother.
Can you confirm the brother's name?
Yes, Tyson Alexander Williams.
Say it again, Tyson Alexander.
Tyson, Tyson, Alexander Williams.
And will he be questioned in connection?
He's a suspect in other crimes he's being looked at right
in
now.
rapes?
I can't answer that question.
Will he be questioned in connection with the Warren rape?
He's going to be questioned because the phone that the Cleveland Police and the Fusion Center was connected to him, used in the area of the 104th Street rape. That's how Cleveland and the Marshal broke this case.
But again, will Tyson Alexander Williams be questioned in connection with the Warren?
He'll be questioned with everything that's relevant.
Do those include cases in Cleveland and Lakewood?
Are you talking about Tyson or Mr. Daniel? Anything they have to say, we're happy to listen to.
Guys, we'll do 2 or 3 more questions, and we'll have to cut it off.
Have Williams or Daniel been charged with anything?
It's too soon to charge. They've just been arrested. We expect charges will be forthcoming on Mr. Daniel for sure.
There's
If I could, real quick,
there is so much
before you-
tension in that neighborhood, there has to be, you gotta feel good about what you guys accomplished so quickly.
Of course, of course. And again, what we've done in this case is indicative of what happens in this city, in Northeast Ohio. The people that you see here represent a part of the partnership that we've established over the last, I'd say, 10, 12 years. And people have to understand just about everything that was done in this case by the people here in the Cleveland Division of Police is done in almost every case that we have, every major case in the city. This case was unique in that it happened early in the morning. This case was also unique in the fact of the brutality that happened in this case. But, you know, rest assured for the rest of the public, you know, the resources that you see here today, we expend those resources in just about every major violent case that happens in this city.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.